welcome back for another day of Archeo Gaming Convention 2020. Very exciting. I hope you guys have enjoyed all of the different panels and presentations that have been done throughout the weekend. It's been a blast to put together and see people putting together all these incredible presentations. So for mine today, I'm going to play through the Sims 4 Jungle Adventures pack and kind of critique it for how it presents and develops archaeology within the video game and how it presents archaeology to the public that might not have experience in conducting archaeological investigations or know of the archaeological process. So how does a multi-million-dollar game present the process of archaeology? So if you've never played The Sims, you basically create a simulated life. It has a simulated world. You can have jobs, you can have family, you can do a lot of crazy things. And so in the Jungle Adventures pack, they introduced where you could go to a new world and conduct archaeological excavations. You can't do it in any other world except for El Salvadorado, I think is what they call it. So let's get started. I've already created characters, and so the differences that I have placed between them, this is Lana Korft. They actually do have an aspiration within Jungle Adventures Pack for specifically archaeology, which it was pretty new, or a new addition to The Sims 4. They didn't have this in The Sims 3, I don't think. So you can be a trowel technician for the first few levels. They want you to excavate 3 dig piles or excavation sites, so they do have different varying levels of intensity of your excavations that you do as a sim. And you uncover artifact from dirt clumps. And it gets through a couple of levels in order to master being an archaeology scholar. So there is an archaeology skill. You can survey for a dig pile. They have authentication of artifacts where as you level up in archaeology, you can be able to tell what is real and what is fake, which is something that archaeologists are able to determine. You can then become an excavation expert once you achieve level 7 of the skill by excavating 3 different sites and finding and authenticating what they consider quality of artifacts. So in this game they have, I guess they rate artifacts on a scale of being worthy. What tangible qualification they have of being excellent quality is debatable. And so you finally reach the main level of being an archaeology scholar by writing a good archaeology skill book, giving a successful archaeology lecture, and achieving level 10 of the skill. And so this is, on the outset of the whole pack, this is kind of all of you get archaeology related within the aspirations. You don't even get one for, I thought that you would get, because the world of El Salvadorado, I'm gonna keep messing that up, they do have it's pretty involved, and I actually really like it. They actually develop the culture. It's definitely not really, it's inspired from kind of South and Central American cultures, but they don't really give you a true sense of where they drew those inspirations from, which is kind of weird. But yeah, so from that pack, I think the only thing you really got was, okay, so you can be a jungle explorer. So what they consider a jungle explorer is buying 3 goods from the marketplace, eating a meal from that location, viewing the statue that's in the city. They actually do have a Salvadorian culture skill that you can level up, which I think is pretty neat. It kind of adds almost an anthropological feel to it, but it's also kind of light on the anthropology. I like this edition, but they don't meld the archaeology with this cultural skill, which I would have have liked to see, which we'll explore later. And they also have the stereotypes of supernatural relics, ancient things, having curses and all that fun stuff. And so you're a jungle explorer, which I'm assuming is just akin to looting, which you're doing already within this game pack because it's not truly archaeology. But you can become a jungle explorer by finding 5 Omiscan treasures and activating 5 mystical relics, different things like that. So there are 2 different aspects. Okay, so we'll go ahead and get into the game. So I have Lana reading an archaeology book right now. I kind of wanted to give her kind of a jump start because I wanted to showcase how in this game it doesn't really matter what level you start as. You all get to complete the same, start from the same place and complete the same activities, which isn't truly a thing in actual archaeology. You definitely can't get a job within archaeology without having one or even possibly 2 degrees, at least in the US. In order to conduct excavations, usually you start off in a field school while you're in undergrad, so you're already receiving education. So I do actually have Lana signed up for college courses. I have her majored in history. I just wanted to even check to see if you could study an archaeology class, which I feel like I've seen before, but when I was trying to pick different classes for her, that it didn't come up. But you can't major in archaeology, you can't get a career in archaeology within this game. It's just a skill and an aspiration, and that's kind of it. So I'm going to go ahead and make them... I also made Nathan Rake, so he's going to be the one that is has no experience in archaeology right now, and will kind of... Why am I blanking out on how to take a vacation? Oh, why can't I take a vacation? I'm going to drop her out of college if we can't take a vacation. Okay, yeah, we're going to unenroll. Sorry, Lana. You probably did that in the games anyway, it's fine. Your dad was the archaeologist. Wait, what just happened? That's not what I pressed. Alright, so within this game you can vacation to 2 different places, but Selva Dorada, I'm always going to mess up saying that, is the only place where you can conduct anything related to archaeology. You can have museums in different worlds, and you can they have an archaeology table, which I'll show you. I think I have in one of their inventories, where you can basically, once you get done taking all of the artifacts, you'll be able to excavate and uncover the different artifacts from any completely different place. It just is stored in your inventory. So I'm gonna have them just do the max thing, and we'll play around. I am going to cheat in this game and just make it where they never have any needs, because I don't want to have to deal with that. So let me just make sure that it's all single need decay. Okay, and so first thing we're gonna do is gonna go to the kind of the city center. So I mean, visually The Sims is always pretty good. I kind of like the look of this city, but at the same time, if they're trying to depict a real place, it's not truly reminiscent of a true place. It's just kind of similar to a bunch of games where they just kind of take inspiration from, or just steal, you know, different things like that. So we'll go to the city center. They do have, well, you'll see when we get started, they have it where you kind of need to make sure that you're fully prepared to go into the field, which, I mean, you would want to be in real life. You wouldn't want to go to an archaeological excavation without like your trowel or your shovels or bug spray and stuff like that. So they do have it where you have to buy things from these stalls, and it helps you a little bit, but it's also, it kind of messes you up in some ways, because it's just like, oh, you see a panther and you have to have the perfect item in order to be able to get through unscathed. Or sometimes I haven't played around fully with it, but I know there's some aspects that will kill you if you choose the right one or don't have the right thing. So I usually, if you want to do this, you need to come to the stalls first and just pick up anything that looks like it would be helpful. And so I can purchase an archaeology table, I can buy exploration supplies. And so they have where you can essentially camp. So I've already bought these books, but they do have where you can level up by reading. And it took so much time to get her to level 3 in archaeology just by reading the book. I remember in The Sims 4 it used to be really easy to level people up just by reading, but in this game, or in this mode, at least with that book, it took forever. It took too long. So they don't have anything that I would consider archaeology related besides the table, which we already have. So I'm not going to mess with it too much, but we will play around with the cultural aspects of it, which I did appreciate. So you can discuss the local heritage. And so now she's acquired the Silveradian cultural skill. She's begun to understand the Silveradian culture. She'll be able to ask about the local sites and find out more about the heritage. The local foods will be a strong culinary adventure. And so you can ask about the jungle. So the only thing I don't really like is that I wish that they tied together more. I wish that there was some way, you know, when you're off doing these quote-unquote excavations and essentially looting their things, I wish that there was, like here, I wish there was like a museum that you could donate artifacts to. Something as simple as that, I think, would have been a small change that they could have made to kind of connect the culture with the archaeological skill, because right now it's, you go out and excavate and you take all of the artifacts back home with you. There's nothing to give back to the heritage that you're essentially stealing from. So they kind of have like the cultural side and the jungle exploring archaeological side completely separated within this game, and that's pretty sad to me. But they have, you can, at some point you can learn dance, you can learn their cooking styles. So he's already in the bar drinking. So okay, so we'll go and do some actual exploration and archaeology now. And so in this mode, they always start you in the same place. I haven't played completely through. I don't really know if there's a way that you can completely play through Jungle Adventures. I think it's one of those that like it kind of resets every time you load in and load out, so you're always able to do different things. Like it does have these branches that you can clear your path with, and so those will open up after you've done it one time, I believe, but if there's been too much time in between coming back, they'll reform. And so this is what pops up, that you kind of have to have the right materials or items in your inventory to be able to get through safely. So Lana stumbles and drops her bag of personal effects right into a patch of quicksand. Should Lana reach in and try and get it or let go? And so I have to choose if I want to let go of a machete or different things like that. So we'll just go ahead and lose one because I think I already had one. Alright. And so this lets her through. Can he pop into? Okay. And so here, I will kind of show you around because it is pretty. It's a beautiful world. So you can definitely tell that they took time to at least prepare some of it, but I don't have much experience within South or Central American archaeology to be able to tell you, oh, that's reminiscent of such and such architecture. To me, on the first outlook, it seems like a big, huge melding of three different kinds, the most well-known. So here is a door. There's also, if you look at the ground, sometimes you'll be able to see what they call dig piles. Let's see, I think I know one is over here. Usually, yeah. So here is one. You'll see how they kind of have it. I will say that sometimes we find sites that look like this, where there's surface surface items just kind of peeking from the ground. Like we'll call those surface collections and dump sites essentially. And so I'll bring her over here to excavate it. Ignore that. Just like I do in real life. Okay, and so here we see her excavating. So the one thing I did kind of like is the different animations that they included, where it's not, I think in the third one they legitimately just show them digging and pulling out artifacts, but this one kind of shows somewhat of a process of an excavation. So she uses the trowel, she takes photos, you'll see her take notes at some point. So yeah, so she's taking notes of what she's excavating. So they do kind of sort of hint at or showcase that it's more than just digging. There's actually, like, you're trying to record what it is that you're finding. I thought that it was at level 3 that you could establish an excavation unit, but we'll keep going to see how long that takes for her to get that. But that just, it doesn't add too much more in terms of, like, more appropriate methods of archaeology. It basically just makes it, puts like a square unit around these, and I think you're able to get more artifacts out of it rather than just the dump pile. So there, she excavated the whole pile and only got one artifact shaped dirt clump, which usually we don't get. She's gonna do push-ups. Just dirt clumps. I've rarely, if like, you find a lot of dirt, but it's never usually clumped up, just like hindering you from even seeing what artifact you have. It's usually you just clear the dirt from around it and you can pretty much easily tell what the artifact is. So why is it important to give back to the culture you excavate in? Well, because I guess it kind of hits back to who owns the past. So essentially if you're within a certain group or culture and they have a lot of history around them, usually there are going to be indigenous people still living in that area. Oh, he's getting bitten by spiders. We're just going to leave you out there with that. And so you're essentially taking from their heritage. So in essence, in this pack, you're literally looting from some of their temples, from sites that maybe they hadn't even discovered yet, and now they'll never get to know because you took it from them and stole. Like, because usually sometimes when it's in temples, it has like religious importance, it has cultural importance, a lot of different things that we would be able to tell about all sorts of facets of that cultural identity that you've now taken. So usually you see, if archaeology is even conducted in sites like this, like sometimes we just steer away from touching it at all and you just want to leave it preserved. But a way of giving back is to just donate any of the materials that you find to museums locally in that area. I'm not seeing any dig piles here. So yeah, they basically have it where you just explore until you come across dirt paths, level up. Oh, I see one over here. Giving back is literally just donating. So if you conduct the excavations, if you're given permission to conduct the excavations, you're giving them the artifacts themselves, you're giving them the notes, the photographs, like literally everything that is involved within these. So you're gonna you're gonna be able to give them basically the effort that you took into doing the excavations and then writing up the report of the findings and handing that to them as well. But usually, for the most part, it is just donating. If they have like a repository or a museum, it's donating all of that and giving it back to them for them to put on display or do with whatever they deem necessary for how they want to handle their own culture or cultural artifacts. because like for example, in the U.S. we have laws in place, Native American Graves and Repatriation Act, which if we ever find human remains that we believe that might be Native American, by law we are not supposed to touch them whatsoever. We're supposed to step back, call authorities. They determine how old the remains are, because you usually have to do carbon dating for that, or by how deep it is, or there are other contexts that you can, like if there are Native American artifacts next to where you found the human remains, it's pretty likely that that's a Native American body. And due to the cultural beliefs and the religious beliefs within those cultures, you essentially have disturbed their resting place. And so as part of the law that was enacted, we usually have it in place that you don't disturb them whatsoever. You just you essentially work around that area. There's also the possibility of exhuming the remains and donating it to the cultural tribe that is believed to have been within that area. And sometimes they have their own land that they will we call it repatriation, where they will rebury the bodies with any rites or ceremonies that they deem or they usually would use. So that's sort of, in essence, another way that giving back is done. So at least in the U.S. with Native American remains, we try not to touch them at all, or they are repatriated. Yeah, so far the archaeology within The Sims is pretty light. I haven't even... It's what looks to be an ancient pedestal of some kind. On top is a shiny treasure, clearly placed there as an offering. It's just there for the taking. So this gives you one of the true... No, I'm just kidding. Archaeologists never have this. This is basically the Indiana Jones trope. Do you want to take it or leave it? She walks right into the tripwire in the ground. A nearby totem opens its mouth and spews out some mystical fire. Alright. We'll keep bringing him along. So here they have the baths, which is a cool little site area. Kind of gives you a different dimension of the culture. I'm still trying to find, because they usually have, when you're higher up in the archaeology skill, where you can search for excavation piles instead of trying to find them yourself, they'll pop up. And so I'll come and let him excavate too. So you can see, like, even though she's a little higher in the skill, so far it doesn't. But they can, I guess not right now, but usually I think higher up, when you actually establish a unit, you can have more than one person work on them. But so he had never had any experience in archaeology before, but he's doing the exact same animations that she was, and she was level 3. So he is level 1, which is allow him to excavate dig piles in Selva Dorada and uncover artifacts on the archaeology table. As he continues his study, he will learn how to authenticate artifacts and locate more dig piles. He will also be able to excavate artifacts without damaging them. And so that's kind of one of the things that is interesting about this pack, is that for the most part they kind of have it as a solo endeavor, which when you get into cultural resource management in the US, like on some projects you will be solo, but for the most part it is much a team-oriented discipline. You rarely, if ever, will be conducting solo research. And so within this game, like you just saw, like she couldn't help him excavate that pile. He had to do it on his own. So that is... Okay, that's cute. I like that. Okay. So we're in a new place. So it essentially just keeps doing stuff like that, which is why you constantly need to make sure you're stocked up. So I can't remember. Nope, you can't go in that temple. I'm mostly trying to find a temple now so I can show you guys what all that entails, but I also want to get her higher up. So there's also, you'll see these scattered around, little treasure boxes, essentially, treasure chests, that no matter what your skill level is, you can just open it and take it. And so that's what it's probably the most, I mean, obviously it's always disheartening. Many video games kind of do this where you don't have to have any sort of skill level, you don't have to have any knowledge of the culture, so like she just opens up the chest and pockets it. She gains some simoleons and puts some adventure gear and a mystical relic in her inventory. So now she has a sprout sapphire gold perica that is valued at almost 10,000 simoleons. So it's stuff like this that kind of adds to the I'm trying to think of the right word. Basically the negative stereotypes of archaeology, or not really the stereotypes, but the bad comprehensions of archaeology as the discipline that deals with artifacts, and therefore what they know about artifacts is that they can be sold for money. And so within this game, as you're going through, that's literally your only options while going through this mode of gaining skill in archaeology is you have a choice to either hold on to your artifacts or sell them. You can't donate them to a museum at all until I thought it was until you get to level 10, but I don't really know, because I think I tried that with another character before and it stopped. I think it was because she was a celebrity too that allowed her to donate it. So that's one really bad version of archaeology within this video game, is you can sell it or you can keep it on display in your house. You know, like it's the worst sides of archaeology is not being able to present what you found to the public, because like I was talking about earlier, one of the big debates is who owns the past, who gets to say what we do with what we find, and why. Why is telling people what you found important? Why does history matter? Why should we care? What does any of it teach us? And I mean, just look at this pandemic that's going on. There's a lot we can learn from history and how to handle things that continue to happen with the same personalities that we see coming back over and over again. All right, so I don't think that there's any other doors. How big of a nuisance are sloths? Sloths are only in... Where are they? Where are they at? I don't want to say like South America, because I feel like they're in other places. So I've never come across a sloth. I would love to, because they are beautiful creatures and my spirit animal. Just like it's this person's sloth walk. I will tell you, in the southeast, there are some nuisances to archaeology. So armadillos are incredible nuisances. They will destroy an archaeological site, because since they burrow underground, they will just rip through different sites, and they take the path less traveled. So if there was a site there, or like say that there was a house or just some sort of wooden structure, if it decays over time, it's decaying into the ground and kind of leaving not really an open pocket, but less compact soil than the soil that had been there before. And so they're going to take the path less traveled, so they're going to go straight through that old remnant of the house. So yeah, we don't like armadillos in the southeast. But I don't know if anyone likes armadillos. Strange looking egg. Just lying. Higher rocket science skill? Why would an old egg require a rocket science skill? Okay. So here we are again with another treasure chest. I'm gonna let this guy open it. You guys are trying to hide the secrets. Maybe. They're like, hey, look at these. So we call, one of my, probably my favorite quotes from one of my old professors is, I mean, it's kind of a common saying within our discipline too, is that archaeology is a destructive science. Like we shit on and hate looters and all these things, but in essence, we're just doing a more scientific version of what they do. Because we as we excavate, as we do these digs, as we uncover the past, we are in essence destroying it. Like we'll never, if we do this excavation wrong, that's the only shot that we get. If we mess it up, then we'll never be able to redo that in a sense. So that's why a lot of this like high tech, like LiDAR and geophysical surveys, where you can be able to survey the ground before you actually put a shovel into it, are becoming increasingly important because it gives us a chance to dig without destroying. Alright, so I don't see any... I'm trying to find a temple so bad. I forget where they are. Oh, I'm sorry, you guys. I forgot to pull up the other chat. That is my bad, if you guys have been asking questions on the other one. That is my bad. Distressed archaeologist. So this kind of sets her apart. So this game is essentially saying that you, even though you're developing the archaeological skill, you're not really considered an archaeologist. So you would come across a distressed archaeologist who seems to have dropped her bag in some quicksand. Should Lana stop to help? She has 0 fishing skills. But we don't have, we're just gonna keep walking. We're just gonna leave her. She just shrugs and keeps on walking. Alright, so this should take us to the temple. Or to a temple. Alright, so... Alright, so we have a temple. We've arrived. I don't see any excavation piles. And so this is where a lot of the tropes come in. I'll get her to excavate that. And then him. So now we reach the peak of the puzzles and static electricity in a 1,000-year-old temple, or however long they expect it to be. So you can study for historical insights on these. And excavate. So they do have items that you can't take, which is nice. So she hasn't... I'm trying to remember what level it is that she's able to have like an actual excavation unit. Because the animation doesn't change too much, it's pretty much this exactly repeating over and over, but there's just... it's an actual squared unit. And she just gets more items. So I might actually study historical insights. He just upped and left? Okay, that's fine. We don't need him. Now she's swimming. Swimming to study the items. Okay. And so you saw she was taking photos as well. So they do have some aspects to showcase knowledge and some sort of recording, but you don't really do much of anything with it. And so I do want her to level up in this, so I'm actually going to keep her excavating this. But I do like, hold on if I can, let me pause this and find it again. So it'll show her what looks like she's taking pictures, but, let's see, it'll show it again. Yeah, okay. It's a messaging app. So she's not really taking a photo, she's just texting. I don't know. I thought that was really funny for them to put that animation in and it not really even be truly taking a photo. So she has leveled up and developed a keen eye for spotting archaeological of importance, and she can survey for dig piles. So I'll show you guys what that means now. So she figured out that some of these triggers won't work to unlock the gate. But that rule doesn't apply to them all. Alright, so now she's about to survey for a dig pile. There it goes. That's all you have to do as an archaeologist, just stand in an open area and squint really hard. And you'll find one. Oh. Alright, so let's keep attempting to get into this temple. Probably have to watch her go swimming again. Yep, there she goes. Yeah, we're going back to, what is it, 60s and 70s, where they just did all their excavations in bikinis and shirtless, at least from every excavation photo from the 70s and 80s that I've seen. Alright, so we don't know from that one yet. I'm gonna press this one and see what happens. Okay, so I pressed the wrong button. Now she's triggered an ancient defense, and she has a poison dart in the neck. So, I'm wondering if it's gonna kill her. That's one way to... Well, we have Nathan Drake we can bring in here, if she dies. Gain some logic skill for narrowly avoiding disaster. Okay. So this is similar to The Sims 3, where you're basically just going through tombs and raiding them. So that's why I have it as Lana Croft, because this is not very good representation of archaeology whatsoever. And so I mean, we've kind of pretty much reached the end of how they present archaeology. Like this is all you get. I can show you what it looks like to. Okay, so they do have something that requires a better, higher Salvadoranian and culture skill provides better results for examining. And so I'll bring this out to show you guys. I should have. Why won't you sit anywhere? What are you doing? Okay, we'll just take her back to the house and do it then. Be confident. Okay, so here we've got another tried and true trope. Is he gonna come out and talk to me, or is it just chat with Patella at some point? Trying to think of where that is. Are these guys the ones that come alive? I guess not. Oh well. Oh, there he comes. Oh my god, that scared me a little bit. So, don't you hate it when you're on an excavation site and the skeletons just walk right up and start chatting with you?
Mooi bim, jas Bennett. Ah, noopsa. So. Oh, dalish. Waga. Yamna. Yarb. Yonk. Yes. Searchin.
It's unsettling at first, but you get used to it, yeah.
Yalmu. Ema. Torky. Nurbena kaboom.
I'm not good at bioarchaeology, but I feel like that's a very big spinal column. Very thick. Oh, she's gotta do some push-ups. Alright, so I'm gonna take her back to the house so I can show you guys what excavating, or not excavating, but authenticating an artifact looks like. Swim through everything first. Oh, the skeleton came back with me. I'm gonna ask it about his love life. Oh, there he goes. Okay, I was like, what? Alright, so we'll use... So she can do two things at this point because she's higher in skill. So he doesn't own this item. But neither does she. So we'll let her uncover an artifact. And I can't say that I would ever take a mallet to an artifact. But I would like to have my own archaeology table. I've never had one of those. Okay, stop flirting. Get back to discuss fishing spots with Nathan. Get back to work. completed one step of the milestone. She's achieved level 4. Oh, she's only achieved one thing. I thought that was bigger. She has surveyed for a dig pile. What are you talking about? And so yeah, another thing I don't like that it automatically assigns monetary value to these things again, but that's just one of the things that The Sims and a lot of video games and pretty much any representation of archaeology and pop culture, it belongs in a museum. It's kind of the best version of it, but monetary value seems to always be assigned. So now she's just gonna stare at it a little bit. And once she's higher level in the skill, she can write archaeology books, and she can give lectures. I think it's usually level 10 that you're allowed to give lectures and talks, essentially. So there are some scales of... It's definitely improved from The Sims 3, essentially, is what I will say. So it's like, I do love that they added that it's a skill, they added the aspiration level of it. I kind of love that, because in the previous one you would essentially just dig in one spot, and here they actually kind of showed you taking photos, showed you taking notes. So while it's still bad, it's definitely an improvement from the last one. So after careful analysis, Lana has determined this artifact is genuine. I would hope so. If she understood the context of where it came from, that she herself looted, she would know whether or not it's genuine. And so she both uncovered and authenticated it. So this one doesn't need to be uncovered. She just has to clean it off and determine whether or not it's an actual real artifact. And I think you can technically, so this illness, there is one cure or curse, I guess, that you can get that it basically is like, if you don't do something within 3 days, you will die. And so one of the times I did get that curse, and so I finally learned the way that you cure yourself is... That's bothering me. Is usually you have to offer something to her. And so here's another aspect of The Sims 4 and many tropes in presenting archaeology to the public, is that they kind of mix it in with a bunch of different types of other disciplines. So she can now analyze genuine artifacts, treasures, fossils, and extract elements from metals and crystals from the archaeology table. So they kind of mix in paleontology with gemology and geology and all sorts of stuff within being able to examine an artifact. Like somehow that helps you in all those other disciplines. So usually, if you have some sort of curse put upon you, you kind of pray at the altar of this statue, and it's supposed to cure you. But I guess she technically is just gonna have to deal with it. Deal with whatever it is that she has right now. Alright, so I think for now that's most of what so you can practice archaeological analysis on different artifacts. But yeah, so far it's just kind of, I don't want to say it's monotonous, but it's just kind of, you do pretty much the same thing over and over again. You go visit the jungle, go visit the temples, and try to get through the locked gates and figure out the puzzles and stuff, and you get better at it as you level up. But it's pretty much the same animations over and over again for digging and for conducting archaeological analysis and different things like this. So I don't know if there's anything specific that you guys want to see from this pack. If you have any questions about it specifically, because then I can just kind of go into my little spiel of critiquing the pack of what it does right and wrong. But so I kind of talked about earlier how I kind of like how they improved with the skill and the aspiration, but they still don't really have it as a job, and they definitely didn't add it. So they added the university pack much later than this one. I think this one was like the third or fourth pack that they introduced with The Sims 4. And so when university came out, I feel like they've really only added as an elective class to be able to study archaeology. They have where you can major in history, but that's about it. So it would have been interesting to kind of see more involved with that. And then there's also the aspect that it could have been really cool to kind of implement field schools as a part of a class or something. If you could major in archaeology, then have them go on a field school, something like that. I do like the appearance or the suggestion that they're controlled excavations, because they definitely did not have that in the last one, and you don't really see that in many other video games. Like we were looking, I think people have looked at Uncharted this weekend. I showed Overwatch that has, they call it archaeological sites and they mention archaeological excavations, but there's not many games where you can actually see it being conducted. And so for them to present this one as semi-controlled with note-taking and photography, that's like a half step in the direction, instead of just showing digging or explosions or just artifacts magically appearing out of thin air. But there is still a lot of development that they can do in that as well. Also, one of the things that I did like about this pack is that they added a cultural component where you can talk to the locals about their food, their music, their heritage. You can level up in the Salvadoradian skill. That man's pants are so pink I thought he was naked. And different things like that. So I kind of like that they added like an anthropological concept to it as well as the archaeological. But there is still a lot that it gets wrong. I don't like that archaeology can only be conducted in this world. It makes it so there's this trope and this understanding. Like I receive this on the daily whenever I am talking to anyone and tell them about my job. They ask like, where do I work? Because obviously living in the southeast, I don't have any archaeology to conduct here, do I? So that's the kind of perception that they have, that it has to be in some other country, far off, exotic location. So I kind of don't like it that this is the only place where you can conduct that sort of excavation, is this exotic, far off location that you can only vacation in. So you can't live here as like a permanent resident in The Sims. Like you can only come here as part of a vacation, and this is the only place where you can conduct excavations without using like cheats or something. I really don't like that there's not a museum, and I really don't like that you can't donate any artifacts to it at all from like the first iteration of achieving the archaeology skill level. I'm trying to remember, at some point I know that I received it where it's either level 10 archaeology skill or becoming a celebrity that you can donate the artifacts to a museum. So it's kind of insulting that your only choices from the very beginning are either to sell the artifacts or to keep them in your inventory, because that's not how we do it. I don't like the continued stereotypes of like all of the ruins and the items having a chance of making you cursed, or sending mummies after you. So that's kind of a well-written trope of archaeological sites or ancient artifacts or ancient places always having to have some sort of supernatural element to them. It can't just be excavating and examining and learning about history for history's sake of an area. There has to be some other supernatural or alien element to it within presenting archaeology to the public. I didn't like the solo endeavor portion of it. It's like I had said, like you're usually in a group for the most part. the part where it meshed a bunch of different disciplines together. I didn't really like that. As you leveled up, it's like, okay, first you're going to be strictly archaeology, but then as you get better in archaeology, we're also going to make you experts in paleontology and gemology and geology, like all these things massed together. They just tried to make you an expert in everything, which it's not what I do. Like, in archaeology, like, I know a little bit about geology because I have to as we study the soils, so you want to know how stratigraphy builds up over time and how sediments change and how that affects the sites that you're looking at, but it's very basic geology, and I know absolutely nothing about paleontology. That is not my forte whatsoever, so do not ever ask me about dinosaurs. I think one time someone asked me what my favorite dinosaur was, and I said, I think it was pterodactyl or something, and then they lit into me because that's not a real dinosaur, and I'm just like, well, that shows you how much I know. I said something that wasn't an actual dinosaur, and they felt that I had betrayed them, and I'm just like, that's not what I study, so I'm gonna be wrong. But overall, I kind of give it mostly a 50-50. I do think that if there ever is a Sims 5, or if they would ever update this, there's some things that they could improve on, because this is definitely an improvement from Sims 3, but there's always more that you could do. So I would kind of like to see that you can't excavate and you can't remove an artifact without having the anthropology or some sort of archaeology skill. Like, I want you to have done research and gained experience within the archaeology skill or something, or taken classes or read books or done something before you even have the chance to excavate. That would be, because that's how it works here. But if you're not looting, you're gonna have experience before you even have a shovel in your hand. I think at this point, this one, I had this note like a few years ago when I wrote this of gaining archaeology skill through university. You can technically do that in this game now, so they did improve it. But I still think it would be neat to have a way to have kind of like field school excavations, but like I showed you, like, there's a chance to be able to do excavation units, and in that way you can dig with multiple people, but it's not the same. And then allow Sims to donate to museums from the very beginning. Like I said, I was really disappointed that they didn't have, so this is pretty much the only open city sitter in this area, I believe. Let me double check. And it's just a bar and a restaurant. Like, that's it. So you have, okay, so here we have a museum of archaeology, but you don't get to donate anything to them. I think they have it essentially again where you can just conduct they have like archaeology tables and stuff, and it's a museum where you can look at but not do anything more, and it's nothing that you haven't already seen or been looting from the sites that are in the jungle around them. You know, like, she's already cursed herself. She's freaking out. So you can view a collection, and you have the archaeology table, but that's pretty much it. So you can give a Salvadorian introduction. So I definitely wish that, like, so all of these artifacts that I have in my inventory right now, I wish that I could get, like, just, it says, like, donate to curator or something, you know? Like, does she even work here? Who even works here? We don't even know. It's just, you can just walk in and do whatever you want to. If I had the kleptomaniac trait, I could probably steal from here, you know? So I kind of would just kind of like to see any aspect of being able to not have the only option be sell it or keep it. So that would be an improvement that they can make in future games. But, so are there any questions? Alright. You can indeed steal. Yep. Alright, well, I think that is gonna wrap it up. So if I go to buy mode, I mean, I can add things, but it's not really from my inventory. But yeah, I definitely agree. I think it's there's also the aspect of inserting a crystal and getting magical powers from some of the stuff that you get. It's just, it's, you know, you just kind of roll your eyes because it's very Uncharted-esque and pretty much everything you've ever seen of the whole supernatural element of gaining powers from the ancient beings. But, alright, so I will check you guys out later. Thank you for joining me on this. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. We'll see you guys later.